Hello, good morning. Sharing some thoughts of wisdom. Psychic forces. In the physical world, in physics, we have forces we call, force of attraction, which is the gravity. The force of, which is the opposite one, is the force of levitation, the one that pull it up. We have force of pushing two forces apart. The force of repulsion, the opposite of compression. We have another force that originates from the center towards a sphere, towards the periphery, towards outside. We call it centrifugal on the opposite, from outside towards the center. We call it, I think in physics, centripetal. Do we have for such forces similar forces in our psyche? When we speak about the gravity, something is maintaining all the forces together. The gravity not only here is the gravity outside in the galaxies as well, that maintains the galaxies. Physics, they refer this to the attraction, Newtonian theory. This attraction is in the spiritual world. This is showing a human being that he is controlled by servitude. He is controlled, this is his real existence. When God spoke in the Quran, says, I haven't created the jinn and human being only for servitude, only for worship. So that's the real force that is maintaining him, what he's going to do when he comes to worship. He is only going to confirm what was already there. The Creator speaks, he says, like every human being is into submission, is submissive, voluntarily, involuntarily. Those on earth and in heaven, they are submissive to God, voluntarily or involuntarily. Voluntarily, we can understand the believer who accepts God and accept the prophet and accept all these pillars, 6 pillars of faith. The one who is a disbeliever, he is controlled by that anyway. Today, he doesn't see the force that he is contradicting or hand wrestling. He will see it after he leaves this world. Our main concern is to speak, are these forces existing after he leaves the world? First of all, do they exist in his psyche? And how they have their results after he leaves this world? Do they exist after, when he leaves this world? You say this kind of freedom, this kind of like liberty, the person does whatever, free will. He was given this, and it's up to him what he wants to prepare. This force of attraction, as I said, we're going to speak about this. Perhaps we'll give it more details later. We leave this aside. Have you ever had a chance to see someone, those who are addicted to drugs, those narcotics? Among those, there are a lot. It makes a person, these very severe ones, they make a person, it is as if he is flying zero gravity. He feels like he is out of space. When he takes it, he likes to take it because he wants to be like, he wants to live in another dimension. He is tired of the routine. And he is stressed out. anxiety, this, and he wants to live outside in another dimension, he takes it. There's another repercussions, even though he knows that, but still he wants to take it. Some of them, they make a person fly. You make him, he is standing in front of you and he is screaming, sweating. You cannot imagine what kind of pain. You look for the pain and you ask him later on when he gets back to himself. You ask him, where was the pain? There's no pain visible. That's not in his hands, it's not in his body. It is not physical pain, it's another pain. Scream just to get back to walk, to stand, even though he is standing in front of you. Other cases, this is an experiment, I tell you this, in front of me. Other case, you're driving a car, very normal speed, there's no speed, not even in a highway, small streets like. He is in the car screaming, fear, he feels like the mountains are going to fall on him. The same thing, screaming with the sweat and shaking, because there is a lack of these chemicals in his body, sometimes because of that. He has that in his body, this is how they make him feel as well. How come he's standing in front of a person? We see in our dreams sometimes, or we are awake, we look at people. There is one who is sitting, who is dreaming. Separate, this guy is in his bed, next one is next to him, like sleeping in another bed. He sees himself like in all kind of pleasure, in a garden, with a mermaid. You know, he's enjoying all sort of pleasure. And then you can see the smile on his face. Another one, it's the opposite, being tortured by an animal, running, sweating. They are next to each other. When they wake up, each one of them will tell you his story. So it doesn't matter if they are next to each other. This is another dimension. He is in his own state of consciousness. This is the next word, how it is. You're going to speak, you're going to say, oh, so this is consciousness. This is a spirit. Nobody whatsoever can tell you what kind of vehicle that will replace this body. Another one, you will experience the same thing. But it's an extension to everyone's, what he was doing, preparing in this terrestrial world. Getting back to the attraction, the force of attraction and the force of levitation. God prevented the human being, warned him all the time not to seek self-aggrandizement, not to seek grandiosity. He is touching another dimension that is not his. He will be tortured by that. As you know, a lot of verses like this. Christianity, when it was Christianity, they speak a lot about humility, practicing humility, and they warn people from this grandiosity. Or what you see in the world, chaos, is all from this Cain persona, not Abel. This is Cain persona. Seeking superiority, then an opponent was displayed in front of him, and then he created that. A challenge he wants to defy. He felt anxiety, he felt being not that, he felt melancholy, he felt other things. He thought probably if he exterminates another one, that will make him feel better. This grandiosity in this world is not seen, you just see the person through his gestures or his behavior. That will make him without a force when he leaves this world. You're going to think probably for the majority of, I should say, 100%. Everybody says, you know, this is, I'm talking about the believer. I'm not talking about the non-believer. Non-believer, that's something, it's not our discussion with this. The believer who believes in the day of judgment, all of them, they say, you know, you are buried, the person is buried in conscience. This is how they think. until the day of the resurrection. Actually, that's totally false. He is going to stay, he's going to wake up actually. So that's the prophet who said it. He said, الناس نيام إذا ماتوا انتبهوا. People are asleep. When they die, they wake up. He didn't say will be resurrected. Not talking about that. They wake up and they see this world as a dream. The world of illusion is not true. They face reality, but they're going to enter in their own state of consciousness. That's what was hidden in say يعلم السر وأخفى. As God said, described it. He said described it in 2 levels below the upconscious. This upconscious is known. The subconscious is psychiatrists, psychologists, they can get to the subconscious under an hypnotism, whatever. But what about if the patient ignores that through his lies a lot? He can leap over the lie detector. You don't catch him. He believes in his lies. He's not going to see any kind of changing. He is saying, but the God who knows the subconscious, that's what the room that's going to enter. What is the dimension? He's going to prepare it. The Big Bang. Scientifically speaking, they speak about the Big Bang. The whole world was in a mass, in one agglomeration, and then there was an explosion. The world into dispersed. All these galaxies are into expansion. Religion speaks about that as well. So God said it in one verse, I think 30 of the prophets, or the Anbiya, he said, haven't they, or don't they know, those disbelievers, that heaven and earth, they were both in a mass, in one agglomeration like this. أَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا. In one small, and we tore them apart, asunder. فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. So he said this believer. The believer, there is no question about him. Whatever he said, he accepted through his faith. Because the true faith is not the one that is leaning on scientific evidence. The faith you accepted, the unseen, that's what you call faith. Those who say, I need the scientific evidence that goes under the parameter of puisqu'on because of such and therefore, which implies, you don't call that faith. No. That faith gives you a tranquilizer that you feel satisfied with momentarily. When you see the world, reality of the world, you leave this world, you see the expansion of the world, you find yourself incarcerated in a small aquarium. It's not made of glass. It's made of your own thoughts. And that's a danger. Prophet ﷺ described paradise. He said, usually the Prophet speaks about the middle. But there he said, spoke about extremes. He said, most occupants of the paradise, they are those naive people. And don't think that is stupidity. Okay, when you say naive, that doesn't mean stupid. You can lean it towards stupidity. You can lean it towards innocence. Naive. He said, أكثر أهل الجنة البله وعليون لذوي الألباب. And those in the highest, he didn't say those of the thoughts, intellectuals, intelligent, cleverness. No, he didn't say that. He said, ذوي الألباب, اللب, those of the core. They take the scientific evidence, they take science, they put it, they accept it, but they see beyond that. They accept it through worship. They see it as just a transit. It's not a final destination. These are people of wisdom. Back to the Big Bang. Why we speak about this? In the map here, you want to draw a map. It remains stable, stagnant, same thing. Except if they make new roads, you change it, and then you have a new development, you're going to put it on the map. When it comes to astrophysics, those planets, talking about galaxies, you cannot draw the map because it's changing all the time. Our main concern is identical. those galaxies, the flow of the galaxies or the blow of those galaxies is the same thing in person's mind with the synapse. Those prayers that you see, I'm jumping from one topic to another, is the prayers. You're standing. You go here. You bow your head, like 90 degrees, then you go back. And I'm talking about Muslims, the way they pray. This is exactly preparing the dimension of his journey. If a person is in conscience, is doing things as an automaton. Here is, we say, the gravity that will control. There is consciousness that was controlled, that is controlling his dimensions. Consciousness, but which consciousness you're talking about? We can attribute to the person. First of all, we don't say person who is behaving, an automaton. An automaton is the one who is behaving without conscious awareness. You don't attribute the time, consciousness to such a person. He's in a comatose state. The person has consciousness, hey, it's one step already. But be careful, a big difference between one who is consciousness, exposed, worship, exposed to lordship, that's totally different. Those dimensions will be controlled by the Creator. Those forces will be to him, but from the Creator. Those bootstrap that you see, sudden impetuous dynamism, is going to change a person's dimension. Talking about after he leaves, here he welcomed them from the Creator. They will give him the joy or the cadence with joy in the next one. Don't call it autogenic. Autogenic is like no one is going to interfere. No. It is some sort of autogenic, but still conscious with God, and the Creator is doing that, is helping him with this. A self-aggrandizing person doesn't have any force that maintain, bringing him back to his gravity, to worship. He was developing those forces, as I mentioned about the drogatic, the person who is taking those narcotics, flowing without finding any kind of force. He developed that himself. The person who is bringing that, talking about worship, humility, that's the real stability of this world. Thank you very much for your attention, and I see you soon.